and breathe, action. Oh, it's been a long time. So welcome to my channel. Oh my god, what is my channel name? I'm new, I'm sorry. So welcome back to my channel, Almost a Cinephile. My name's Becca and I am almost a cinephile. And what that means to me is that I love a good blockbuster movie. I love kind of interesting and dark and creepy films. But I feel like I am touching the surface in terms of the movie world. So this channel is to talk about all things movies, DVDs and physical media, maybe touching on some books here and there. As you can see, my shelves behind me, I am slowly building up a very small collection, and I am really addicted to finding secondhand movies and DVDs, as well as some literature as well. So today is going to be like a really big haul. This has been over the last, I want to say like 8 weeks. All of these films are secondhand. I didn't buy any of them new. I will try my hardest to remember the prices of everything. They pretty much range from, obviously being here in the UK, from £1 down to like 50p being the cheapest. I think the most expensive I spent on one of these is £3.50, but there's kind of a reason behind that. So let's get started with this ridiculous stack of physical media. I'm going to start off with some of the more adult films. I've got a little stack of kids films as well, which I will just briefly go through at the end, just in case some of you aren't interested in that. I do have children myself. I am also a massive fan of animation and children's films in general. I think there are some real good ones out there to watch as an adult. So I'm not going to go in any particular order of like genre or anything like that. All of these are going to be DVDs. I don't have a Blu-ray player as of yet. I'm just kind of dabbling in collecting at the moment, and I have an old DVD player that my mum gave me, so we're using that for the meantime, and then potentially maybe upgrade in the future. But I know people are like real like Blu-ray and 4K fans, like hardcore, but these are just kind of bog standard DVDs and they work for us. They're more accessible in the area, and not a lot of people kind of are giving away a lot of Blu-rays at the moment. So in order to kind of start building a collection, I've started with DVDs. So the first one is Death Becomes Her. This stars Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis and Goldie Hawn. I've actually never seen this film before. I believe it's one of my sister's favourites, and I feel like I've dipped in and out of it before. I feel like it's been on the background, but I've never actually seen it. I believe it's like a dark comedy, but yeah, that was the first one I picked up, and I believe it was like 50p. Another classic that I've actually never seen is Flashdance. This has obviously been what is the word, referenced to in a lot of films. Obviously like when the water falls on her and she's dancing, I believe that's that, like she pulls the chain. I'm pretty sure like Shrek has referenced this before, but I've actually never seen the proper film itself. So I got this one as well. Again, I think this was like 50p. Again, all of these films are going to be like 50p to £1, so I'm probably not going to mention every single price apart from the ones that cost me a little bit more potentially. The next film I got was Jeepers Creepers. I've seen this once and only very recently. This is the first time I've ever actually seen it. I didn't like grow up with Jeepers Creepers. I feel like I watched it when I was a lot younger, like the first 10 minutes when the car's like ramming into them from behind. But I've never ever watched it since, because I think I was far too young to start in that. But I've watched it since, and actually it's a really solid horror film. I'm not like the biggest horror genre person. I love horror films, but I'm also really nervous and get scared about watching them. Dipping into the genre like more and more, and kind of pushing my boundaries in terms of watching some like old school horror films that I actually missed out on when I was a lot younger. So yeah, Jeepers Creepers. Again, another horror film, 28 Days Later. I feel 28 days? Yeah, 28 days, isn't 28 weeks. I know there's 2 in the franchise. This is the one with Cillian Murphy in it. I hate zombie films. I watched Shaun of the Dead, which is a kind of dark comedy, on Dawn of the Dead, and I couldn't watch it because the guy in the pub, when his like guts start getting eaten, I walked out, couldn't do it. So I'm trying to be brave and watch a few more zombie films. I'm pretty sure I've watched a little bit of this as well. A lot of these films I feel like I've watched like bits of, but I've never actually sat and watched the whole thing through. So now I've got 28 Days Later to add to my collection. So now we're coming to the most expensive set of DVDs that I have bought, which is this steelbook, which I didn't know existed. The world of steelbooks is mad. Like, people are hardcore collectors. This is the only one I have in my entire collection. Again, I shop a lot of secondhand, so I don't see them very often, but we are starting to see them more and more in my local like secondhand shops. This is the greatest ever slasher movies. It contains Hostel, the original, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Candyman, Urban Legend, and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which I believe is the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I haven't seen as well. But I haven't seen any of these films, but yeah, so it's a pack of 5. And I believe all the original artwork is on every single separate disc, rather than them being all like blank DVDs. And then the I Still Don't Know What You Did Last Summer's at the end. This was a really cool find. This cost me £3.50, but it is 5 films in one. I've never seen any of these films. Some of them make me quite nervous, especially the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I feel like that movie has like a huge reputation of being like one of the scariest films ever. The remake came out like when I was like a young adult. And I think I watched 10 minutes of it and had to bail out. So I have those to add to my horror film collection. I think a lot of these came out like a really long time ago. I know the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one was quite, was like the 70s or 80s. I think a lot of these are like pre-2000s films. Maybe apart from Hostel, I don't know. But yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I will have to find a time to actually get through those. Another kind of horror film, some people call it a horror film and some people call it an action film. This is Blade. My parents used to own Blade and Blade 2, I believe. This is kind of pre-Marvel, before it kind of went the way it has done of recent. Again, I've never seen the Wesley Snipes Blade. I know they're going to do a remake soon. That's kind of been on and off for the last few years. Whether or not that's actually going to go ahead, who knows? But I always remember this being in our collection when I was at my parents'. And I always remember seeing like this little character at the back and being incredibly intrigued. But I was too young at the time when this came out, so I actually have never got around to watching it. I think I've watched like the beginning scene when they're all in the club and then like all the blood rains down. That's as far as I've ever got. Again, a lot of these films, dipping in and out, don't actually sit and watch things properly, apparently. So I've got a couple of kind of like creature features. I have a massive love of creature features, especially King Kong movies. I have a bit of an obsession with those. But these are actually shark movies. I got The Shallows with Blake Lively in it. I've never seen this one. I do love a good shark film. I've seen The Meg and Deep Blue Sea, which is a classic, which I'd love to own. But I've never ever seen The Shallows, so it'd be interesting to give this a watch. I also picked up Jaws, which is obviously a classic. This I have watched all of. It's a very long film. I always remember it being like a really long film. I can't see where the minutes are. This is also like a special edition. I know people love like some special features on their films. A lot of these have got like some special features and some of them don't. I'm not like a big mad person into special features. I appreciate if they're on there because obviously it means like you get extra kind of bonus content. But I buy these for the films. So I have the Jaws 2-disc special edition, and then that's the artwork. That's quite cool of her swimming, similar to the cover. I love this cover, it's iconic. But yeah, I'm gonna have to give this a rewatch at some point because I don't feel like I've watched this in quite a long time. I then got the film Apocalypto. This is a Mel Gibson film. I love Mel Gibson as a director. He has directed some of my favorites. He has a very specific style, and a lot of his stuff is and tends to lean towards more of the violent nature of humanity. I believe he directed like Braveheart and obviously The Passion of the Christ. I've watched both of those, and I've also watched this many times. It's a great film, and to be fair, the whole thing is not in English, it's all subtitled, and it's still fantastic. It's very brutal, as Mel Gibson usually is with his films. But this looks like it's never been opened. It looks like it's a HMV copy because there's stickers on the front. But this was only £1. Yeah, and it's brilliant. I love this film. I really love this film. It's fascinating and brutal, and it's just gives you a big like hit in the face of culture from his point of view. So the next film is 1984 with John Hurt. I am currently in the middle of reading the book 1984 by George Orwell. I've never actually seen the movie. I do know kind of it's where Big Brother is watching you originated from. It looks like a really cool film. I'll give it a go. I've never seen it before, but I love kind of post-apocalyptic dystopian worlds. It's one of my favourite genres, so this is going to be, I'm hoping, really, really good. So another classic I got was John Carpenter's The Thing, starring Kurt Russell. I only recently, very recently, literally like last week, watched this for the first time, and then I found it in one of my secondhand stores. It's a little bit beat up. It's been cut along the front. I really like this film. I didn't grow up with it. It wasn't like a big part of my childhood. I never kind of saw my mum and dad kind of referencing this or loving this that much. My mum was more of an Alien fan, but when I told her I picked this up, she did say it was really, really good. So they must have watched it at some point, but it was never kind of around when I was younger. But yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I feel like I have to give it a rewatch and give it like the time it deserves, because I feel like I was kind of going in and out of watching it when I was. But yeah, I'm going to give it another go, but I have got The Thing. Another collection of films I got was the Planet of the Apes trilogy. This includes Rise, Dawn and War. So Rise of the Planets of the Apes, oh God, that's a mouthful. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. I've only seen Rise, I've not seen Dawn or War, and I know there's a new one out as well. I also haven't seen that, but it was a free movie collection. And it's got all the artwork on each individual DVD. Oh, apart from the last one. Oh, okay, that's sad. I've only ever watched like one other Planet of the Apes. I've never seen the actual original films. I believe there was a box set with all of these in, including the older ones, but I only opted for this one, which I'm now regretting. But I have the trilogy here, and I'm going to make my way through it and give it a go. Some people really love this. Some people kind of a bit meh about it. I liked the first one. So we'll see. The next film I got is The Day the Earth Stood Still. I feel like this is a remake. Is there one that is? It is, yeah. So there's one from the 1950s. This is the remake with Keanu Reeves and Jennifer Connelly in it. I love this film. I'm a massive fan of Keanu Reeves. I feel like he's kind of the person that acts the same way in every film, but I can't stop loving him since The Matrix, which is one of my all-time favourite films ever in the whole world. I kind of always am drawn towards some of his older stuff. This and like Constantine are some of my favourites, really underrated movies, but I really like this. It's really interesting. Keanu Reeves plays an alien who is there to kind of wipe out humanity because of the way things have gone, and Jennifer Connelly obviously is trying to make him see humanity through her eyes and stop it, obviously. But yeah, I can't remember it. I can't remember the ending, but I don't know whether he kind of changes his mind and everybody lives, or they don't. But yeah, really good movie, underrated. If you haven't seen it, I've just spoiled it for you. I do apologise. I'm new to this whole DVD collecting thing. I need to be careful that I don't spoil films when I actually talk about them. This is Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. I've never seen this as well. It's supposed to be really, really good. It's been on my watch list for absolutely ages and I still haven't get around to it. But I found this again, I think for like barely anything, maybe 50p. It's supposed to be amazing. I've seen Interstellar by Christopher Nolan. I loved that film and I was really late to the party with that. But I've now got this as well to give a go and see if it's any good. So this was a bit of a find. I am a huge fan of Indiana Jones 1, 2 and 3. I will not be talking about number 4 and I have not seen number 5. This is number 3, The Last Crusade, arguably the best. This is my favourite one. I used to love The Temple of Doom, but I think this is my favourite. I love Indiana Jones. I grew up with Indiana Jones. My dad loved Indiana Jones. It's just a great film. It's something that I now pass down to my kids and we all love Indiana Jones now. I could watch and rewatch these forever. I'm really happy I found this one. I just need to find the first 2 now, which I will have to hunt for. Another film I've kind of heard of but never seen, it's supposed to be amazing, is The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. I know obviously this was all kind of filmed in Thailand on Koh Phi Phi Island or something like that, so now everybody kind of travels there to see it. It's kind of like a very, I don't know actually, to be honest. I'm going to pretend like I know what this is before I kind of read it, but I actually don't know what this is about. I thought it was more like a drug fueled kind of psychedelic film, but now I'm thinking maybe it's not. Let me know in the comments if you love this film, if you've seen this film, is it worth a watch? I got it just because I think it's a classic and a lot of people have seen this and I haven't, and I need to watch it. So this next one I actually had on my wish list and added that I wanted to collect all of these movies. I love these films. I was absolutely terrified of the first one, and then I've built up my tolerance over the years with horror movies, and I'm slowly starting to delve deeper into the horror genre. But I love the Insidious films. Number one is my favourite. It's the scariest in my opinion. I've seen number two. I don't think it was as good. Number three, I think, has a different set of characters. We're moving away from the family that we were following in the first two films. There's also now Insidious The Last Key, or The Lost Key, and then obviously Insidious The Red Door. I've not seen those two films, but I would love to add them to my collection. But I found this free film box set for £1. I was so happy with myself. So yeah, now I own all the Insidiouses between 1 and 3, and I just need the two other ones. Yeah, I love these films. I think they're really rewatchable and fun. I think if you're watching Insidious for the first time, it can be really scary, but you kind of get used to it after a while. So one of my favourite comfort genres is films about food. My husband's a chef, so we love finding films based on food. The film itself, Chef, is brilliant. It's one of our favourites. We also really love Julie and Julia. So this is about Julia Childs and a lady called Julie that wrote a blog following her book of recipes. I love this film so much. I can watch it and watch it and watch it, and it's just so comforting. And Meryl Streep is amazing in this. When is she not? And Stanley Tucci in this, and obviously he's a massive foodie. And then obviously Amy Adams is really cute in this as well. I love this film. If you haven't seen it and you love food and you love kind of semi-biopic, I think it is based on a true story about a lady that wrote a blog about her. But you may have to kind of double check that because I'm not sure. But it's really cool. I love this film. And if you're kind of, yeah, a foodie, you love it too. Now we're coming into some of the franchises that are some of my absolute favourites. One of them being the Spider-Man movies. This is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3. I have 1 and 2 already, and this has been one of the hardest things to find. I found one and it was in French, so I was gutted. And then I found this one with the slipcover, which is really, really cool. This is Spider-Man 3. I am always gonna vote for Spider-Man 2 to be my favorite, but Spider-Man 3 is actually a very worthy contender. The bit when he dances and kind of gets the suit on and he's like wearing eyeliner and he's like Bully Maguire, I used to hate that and feel like it was so cringe, but now I feel like it's iconic. I really love the Spider-Man films, and actually I feel like the older I get, the more I appreciate Sam Raimi's trilogy. As well as that one, I also found The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. I used to love Andrew Garfield the most. He used to be my favourite Spider-Man. I'm kind of going back towards Tobey Maguire. I go in between the two. As much as I feel like Tom Holland does like a really good job at being Spider-Man, he's like a younger version, so I feel like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are my guys. They're my favourite. And when they turned up in Spider-Man No Way Home, I think it is, I was just like one of those people screaming in the audience at the cinema. I love The Amazing Spider-Man. It's a different take on the original story of Peter Parker, but I think it's really, really good. They kind of go about it a different way, and I really love that. Like, you get a bit more backstory to his parents and why they left and things like that. Yes, I really like this one, and I'm really sad that they only stopped at 2 and didn't give him like his own ending in the franchise. Another franchise that's obviously the best franchise in the world is the original Star Wars trilogy. We grew up with Star Wars. My dad had like the original gold video box set, which was like apparently in those days very expensive, and he treasured it and hated every time that we touched it. But this has got its slipcase as well, and then I haven't actually opened this up yet. I think I should probably to check the discs, but yeah, so it's just got all 3 discs in the case. It's got like a little pamphlet. I love when you get things like this. I always keep them. I don't throw them away because I feel like it's a nod to whatever's in there. There's like, sometimes you get like offers and deals and weird little kind of things in there. Sometimes there's like really good full-on booklets about the film. Sometimes there's not, but it's cool to find things like that and keep them in there. So I have A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I love Return of the Jedi. That's always my favourite. I know people love The Empire Strikes Back. I need to rewatch these and kind of see if my tastes have changed since getting older, but I always loved the 3rd one. That was always my favourite. I also love the prequels of Star Wars, which I'm also trying to collect. They're my absolute favourites. I grew up with those because that was my kind of timeline, but I do have the old ones now that we can kind of watch together. I also found a really cool one, which is Batman and Robin, one of like the cheesiest Batman films that there are out there. But I love Batman. Batman's awesome. I love Batman. The newest Batman with Robin Pattinson is my absolute favourite. I love what Matt Reeves did with that film. It's a plain disc inside, but this was a really cool find. Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it, and obviously Uma Thurman plays Poison Ivy. I've not seen this in so long, but I remember I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's corny, obviously, like the George Clooney like Batman nipples. It's still a great film, and I'm really happy I've got this in my collection now. So that's all the kind of adult films that I found. I've now got a few children's films, so obviously if you're not interested, then by all means check out the video, that's absolutely fine. I love some of these finds. I'm really happy that we found them. And the first one is Merlin. I only remember tiny fragments of this movie, but I've always wanted to find it and rewatch it, and I've never found it. And then I did. This film is nearly 3 hours long. We watched the first half because the DVD seems to be broken into 2 parts. There's only 1 disc in there, so I assume it's 2 parts on 1 disc. It's 174 minutes long, so it is really, really long. But we watched the first half and it was nothing like I remembered, but there were still parts that I did remember that I was like, oh my god, I remember that. Really, really underrated and good film. The kids loved it. So we watched this the other day, but we need to watch the second half. Obviously coming up to Christmas, I found Santa Claus. This is my husband's favourite Christmas film. I have other favourites. I didn't grow up with Santa Claus with Dudley Moore. I grew up with kind of the Muppets Christmas Carol and things like that. They were my favourites. But this is the kind of Santa Claus movie. A good Christmas film. It's coming up to that kind of time of the year, so we're starting to slowly collect some Christmas films for our collection so we can watch them. A lot of the streaming services don't actually show a lot of the kind of older Christmas films that we were all kind of growing up with, which is really annoying. So we always find that we want to like collect more of those at the moment so that we can actually have them in our catalogue. And the next film I got was Matilda. I love this film. I love this film. This is rewatchable forever. I will always watch this, even if I'm on my own and the kids aren't with me. I love this film. It's amazing. The kids watched the remake on Netflix. I haven't watched that. That's more like a kind of musical style. I'm just going to stick with the original. That's my favourite. We also got a couple of Pixar movies, Toy Story, the original, and Finding Nemo. These films are amazing. I mean, I think I went to the cinema to see Finding Nemo when I was a kid. And obviously Toy Story was like one of the first of its kind. Both really good films, really good for our collection for the kids. My daughter also picked out The Lion King. We watched this recently. It still holds up. It's still fantastic. The animation, it makes you really miss the golden era of Disney, I think, when we watch films like this. To see now what Disney has kind of become, this is amazing. I mean, it made me actually really sad because like the music, the animation style, the acting, the voices, everything comes together so amazingly perfectly in these sorts of films that Disney made at the time. And yeah, it's good to have them, but it's really sad to know that you're not going to kind of get that sort of quality again. Another fantastic film is The Prince of Egypt. The music, The voice actors, the animation is stunning. I'm a huge animation fan, and I'm slowly building up my collection, but the Prince of Egypt, sorry, is so good. It's just, I mean, and I know it's based on like obviously a biblical story, the story of Moses. I don't feel like it throws it in your face, obviously if you're not religious, but it's still fantastic. It still holds up even now, and we love this film. And the last film that I found that's one of my ultimate favourite movies is Miyazaki's Spirited Away. I love Studio Ghibli. I remember when I first found Studio Ghibli, I was probably in my kind of mid-teens, and Channel 4 usually has some really cool films that they kind of show. They really support lesser known movies, and at the time Ghibli films hadn't kind of hit the amount of kind of pop culture and mainstream as they have now. I feel like everybody grows up with Miyazaki now. At the time they were showing like all of their films, and I watched Princess Mononoke for the first time, and I was like, what on earth is this? This is mad. But I loved it. This is just Chihiro sitting on the deck with her little bun. But I fell in love ever since. And then when Netflix added nearly all of the Studio Ghibli films onto their streaming service, we've binged them for ages. But obviously trying to move away from streaming services, I'm trying to find some of these. They're really expensive to buy brand new, because of obviously they're so like iconic. But Spirited Away is one of my favourites. And if you haven't seen Miyazaki's films, or your kids haven't seen them, I would really encourage you to give them a go. They're iconic for a reason, and they have just all the feels and all the cozy vibes. One of my favourites is Grave of the Fireflies, which I only watched this year, which is not as well known. I think it's the only film that never got dubbed into English, but if you stick with it and just read the subtitles and get over that, it's one of the most saddest, most beautifulest films I've ever seen in animation. So I really hope you've enjoyed me going through this massive stack of DVDs. I'm really enjoying getting back into physical media. Long ago I had a huge physical media collection, and I used to collect DVDs all the time. I've always loved movies. I'm just so glad that channels like this are going to hopefully help physical media get back to where it needs to be. I really don't want to see it dying out. I want to see like DVDs have a comeback and a resurgence, like we've seen with books over the last few years since COVID, and like we've seen with vinyls and records. I want the DVD to have its comeback. I feel like that it needs it before obviously we lose all traces of physical media. I think it's really cool to be able to say that you own your own kind of collection, so that you don't have to rely on streaming services constantly taking films on and off of their platforms, banning certain things because obviously of their relevance, or their kind of the way they were made back then doesn't kind of fit society today. And it's become so important to me to kind of build back a collection again, so that we actually have what we would like to watch, rather than being dictated by massive companies as to what we can watch and when. I'm starting to get a little bit fed up with it. That's why I've kind of turned to recollecting again, and I can't wait to find some more gems. So if you want to see more from me and this channel, then please subscribe. There'll be more hauls. I will also be doing kind of reviews of films I've not seen before. If you're kind of new to movies, or you feel like you've kind of dabbled in blockbusters and you want to go further in with me, then please by all means join this channel. I'm new to physical media collecting, as well as broadening my horizons when it comes to film, and I would really love to take you with me on that journey of discovering new favourites and new classics. So if that sounds like your jam and you want to be part of the Almost a Cinephile crew, then please subscribe below and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.